Here, almost here, the first press conference of the year for Clemson. And I'm sure everybody in America is going to say about the same thing as far as being ready to play somebody besides having to practice against yourself. And we're looking forward to that opportunity. Coach Sweeney's done a really great job at Clemson. He's got an outstanding football team, starting with their offensive unit. They've got 4 returning offensive linemen, although Beasley will probably, I guess Beasley will not play, so we have 3 that will play as returning starters. They, offensively, they are the quickest tempo team we play. When we say tempo, talking about how many seconds between snaps. And of all the people that we studied, throughout the summer, they do like to go fast. And got a new quarterback in Stout, a guy probably a lot similar to Hudson, at least in the fact that he's been around the program a long time. He's got a lot of practice reps, and he was able to get a lot of game reps too. They put people away early a lot of times. Last year, they were able to get their second and even third team quarterbacks in the game at times. And Stout, very, very tall, very accurate passer, very efficient. What he does, he can move well enough to extend plays. I don't know if he's a big QB run guy, but makes good decisions, very accurate. Deshaun Watson, the backup freshman quarterback, we all know from Gainesville, Georgia here. Very talented guy, a guy that can run and pass. Just a dynamic player. I think they've already mentioned he'll probably get in the game, so we've got to have a plan for him. They did lose some outstanding receivers and running backs from a year ago. And unfortunately, they did also get a player hurt, a running back hurt as well. So don't know a lot about their the backs that are playing. DJ Howard and Davidson looks to be the top 2 guys on the depth chart, number 22 and number 32 respectively. We'll just have to see what these guys have got. At the receiver position, Humphreys is the returner that's probably got the most catches, or he does have the most catches. He's more of a slot receiver for them, but a very productive guy. Sharon Peak, number 19, looks to be a starter. I think he played about 3 games last year and had an ACL injury, and he's coming back off of that. Then there's number 7, Williams, who they have listed as a starter as well, 6'3", 205. Another guy that can make plays. They've recruited extremely well across the board and have a lot of great players. When you look at their defense, they have, you start with their front, very, very talented bunch. Nick Beasley, I guess, is where you should start. He's a guy that I think he got 2 or 3 sacks against us at least. He got a bunch of sacks last year. I guess it was 13 sacks, 23 tackles for loss, 44 tackles, 6 pass breakups, 12 quarterback hurries, 4 forced fumbles. I mean, the guy's one of the best players in America, and he's definitely a guy that we're going to have to deal with. Grady Jarrett up front is another guy. He's a Georgia boy. He's a senior, number 50. Got him at 6'1", 270. Very, very active football player. Plays extremely hard. Gave us some fits last year. I think we ended up having 2 or 3 holding calls against him just because of how hard he played and how athletic he was. Another senior up front, Josh Watson, outstanding player. Had 47 tackles last year. Getting back to Jared, he had 83 tackles last year, 11 tackles for loss. Really good football players. They're showing, or at least our depth chart here is showing Shaq Lawson at the other end. 35 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 9 QB hurries, a pass breakup. Just a bunch of guys that have played and been highly productive. In the middle, linebacker position Stephon Anthony. Great player, kind of their leader of their defense. 6'2", 235, had 131 tackles last year, 13.5 tackles for loss. So he's a guy had 4 sacks, a pick, bunch of pass breakups. Very, very physical guy. Got a lot of respect for him. The other two guys have played a good bit, but they were not starters. Stewart, number 7 at the wheel, and at their Sam Burrell, T.J. Burrell, number 41. In the backfield, not 100% sure about how they're going to start everybody out, but just reading about him, Robert Smith seems to be the one they're pretty certain is their leader back there, senior safety, 79 tackles from last year, had a sack, 2.5 tackles for loss, 1 pick, 5 pass breakups, a very good football player. Our notes have Curse at the other safety position, number 20, had 55 tackles last year. It looks like Mackenzie Alexander's going to start for him. He's the guy that came in last year, highly touted guy, got hurt, redshirted, so there's no stats on him from a year ago. He's number 2. He's a redshirt freshman. And we think Tankersley will be the other corner, number 25, a guy that had 13 tackles last year. And so we'll see how they line up. We're kind of fluid back there too, so I don't know if they know who's going to start for us because we don't know yet. Special teams, Lacob, the new place kicker, he is new. He did get 2 kicks last year. He was 1 of 2 last year. Made a 41-yarder. Bradley Pinion, the punter, averaged about almost 40 yards a punt the last 2 years. He's also their kickoff guy, extremely strong. Don't know if we'll get a chance to bring any out. He knocks it out most of the time. The long snapper's back. Their punt return man, Humphreys, had a good season last year. He averaged a little over 10 yards per return. So they did have a very nice punt return game. And then at the kickoff return, I think Sammy Watkins was their guy a year ago. So no one really got many opportunities besides him. So the other 2 young men are new. Green, I've got Green and Davidson there. But anyway, it's a game that we've all been looking forward to for a long time. I know our fans are looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what the dog walk looks like. I'm looking forward to seeing our students show us what they've got. And by getting there early and really cheering our boys on during pregame warm-up. And I'm also looking forward to our fans wearing red and getting after it and creating enough noise that we can hopefully disrupt some of the things they're trying to do offensively. It's going to take everybody, and our fans going to be a huge part of it. So I'm looking forward to the game, and I'm ready to answer some questions if you have any.
You alluded to the secondary. Obviously, that's been a point of fascination for all of us during summer practice. You had kind of a very similar situation going to Clemson last year.
Right.
3 or 4 new starters back there, and that. How do you compare the 2 situations last year and this year?
The situations are very similar. Just guys that don't have a lot of experience going to be playing. Some have no experience going to be playing other than practice experience. So it'll be interesting. We're actually going to meet tonight on both sides of the ball and try to nail down who's going to be where. Make sure our guys know where they stand and can be studying the right things. So. Yeah, it's very similar to 2 years ago.
Coach, I know things can change between now and Saturday, but with what was released yesterday, can you just talk about the middle linebacker with Tim Kimbrough being listed first team, and then also Devin Bowman at corner? You had mentioned last week that he had a hamstring pull. Is that much better?
Devin started out with a good camp, and then did have a hamstring, and then he got well and was practicing again. And this depth chart, I wouldn't go too crazy about it right now, to be honest with you. I don't even know if it's worth writing anything right now.
Since everything's kind of a mystery, is that scary but also kind of intriguing all wrapped in one?
It's intriguing. I mean, we'll see how they do. We've got some guys that have played some ball and made some plays and all that kind of thing, so we got a little bit of that. There's enough of the unknown that it'll be interesting to watch the film when it's all over.
What kind of, how would you describe the preseason Hudson's had and just his long time in the program, kind of what he thinks going, how has that served him in transitioning into the starting role?
Well, it feels to a certain degree like we've got a veteran starter back with us. It doesn't feel like a new starter, although obviously he did start 2 games last year and finished the year as our starter. But the transition from a guy like Murray, who played all those games and did all those things for us, you would think when he left, the next guy, it'd be a bigger deal than it really has been. Not to say Aaron didn't do wonderful things for us, but we just got a guy who's been in the program going into his 5th year and had a chance to start a couple games and did a really nice job of leading throughout the summer. And when your quarterback knows what to do, and you kind of take it for granted. You go to the line of scrimmage and you just start playing ball all throughout practice and in the games. Usually when you have a new QB, you're wondering what he can comprehend or how we handle being a starter and all that kind of thing. So those questions have already been answered with him, so it's, think a whole lot about it.
Mark,